Welcome back to the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. We are here at the Rail, our home. I know it looks different. We had to move some things around. We're actually upstairs today in the green room, but I'm stoked because I heard this band kind of came out of nowhere for me, and there was like this song that I was apparently behind on, and they popped up, and this song was amazing. But today we have Adorn here. What's going on?
How's it going, man? How are you doing?
Good.
Awesome.
First of all, thank you for making it. I know we had to some scheduling stuff on my end.
No, you're good, man.
Yeah, thank you. No worries. Thank you for having
No, I
us.
appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. But yeah, I'll get right to it. Like the way I discovered you was, I believe it was one of the Set Adrift guys that just shared the single Voyeur. Amazing song
Thanks.
coming out the gate. Like as soon as I saw it, I'm like, okay, who is this? Because it always I like it, but it always throws me off when there's a band around me that I'm like, how did I miss this? Because I think when I heard it, the song came out like back in October.
Yeah, it was October.
Early October. Yeah.
And I think I heard it like 2 months ago. And I was just like, this is wild. Like how did I go like this long with not listening to it? But I kind of want to get to it. Like I've known Kaylin like for a little bit, like here in passing and stuff like that. But how does Adorn get started here? Like,
yeah, I mean, I would say I would call it, I guess, my passion project. Okay. It's something that I've played in a bunch of bands in DFW and over the years, but it's always I always joined something or that was already established, and or like my friends started a band and they're like, hey, come play guitar, but I wasn't like the primary songwriter in that. And this is one of the first bands where it was completely started from the ground up, and I had a rough idea of what the goal we were going for. So, a few of the parts of the band have kind of gone in and out, and we've established on the current lineup. But yeah, it's been something we've worked on for
about 3 years.
3 years total, like from inception, I would say, at least the first concept. It changed a lot. I would say in the current lineup and kind of the finalized, I guess, form that we're currently in now, it's about a year-ish. Yeah, maybe a little over a year.
Yeah, about a year and a half.
Yeah.
In this current iteration.
With everybody in it.
Yeah, who's currently in it. So, but it was just an idea. For some reason, I decided to start a band when I had my first kid. I was like, yeah, this is great timing. But it's like when I have no time, this is when I want to start a project. But so I think it initially started out of, I was in a band called Fever Youth for quite a few years. And that was a band that played around DFW quite a bit, and had a lot of member rotations. It just never was I loved the project, and it was one that me and my friend Jordan Landers started. But it never had much stability, and like I felt like there's a lot of member rotations, and love everybody in that project, and it was great, but I kind of wanted to hit the reset button and start something new. And Jordan still was a part of Adorn initially. And he's currently, we can get into this, but he's currently playing bass for the country artist Corey Kent right now, and he's on tour, tours the world, and he does a whole bunch of stuff. So
he's playing arenas right now.
Yeah, so he's doing just fine for himself.
Don't feel too bad for Jordan.
Right? Yeah. But it was
good.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's OC, your host for the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast, and I know what you're saying. Another ad on this podcast? Yes, but this one you can help support the podcast. You might be seeing these beautiful Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast hats here on the table, where they're not just for decoration. We're selling these hoes, okay? This podcast, I don't get paid for this, so I need some money. Let's try to do that again. Less desperate. These hats look very cool, and it would be very cool of you to buy one to put on your head and look even more cool than you already do, all right? If you want to tell people that you have impeccable taste, that you listen to all types of music, and you listen to the best podcast in the entire world or tri-state area, or maybe just this area here, this is the best podcast in this room, probably, then you should get one of these hats so that you can help support a local business and a local podcast, and so you can help support artists to come here and talk shit. Okay, that's the whole point of this. But yes, go to noiseroute.com to pick out your Chill Sounds and Breakdowns hat or other merch. We got stickers, we got pins. Pick something up, and thank you for supporting the podcast.
But initially, it was a band he and I started, and we had a concept of we wanted to be, I think it was going to be a heavier project from the initially, more, subgenre, like post-hardcore, metalcore type thing. I think was the initial idea. Mm-hmm. But then it's once we got Austin into the picture, I think we acknowledged his voice and like how strong it was, and we're like, okay, we can either keep trying to do the path we're doing, or we can pivot to his strengths and really just kind of shape our sound more around something that'll really suit his voice really well. And I think that would, help it be successful. And that's what we ended up doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
That is definitely what we ended up doing.
Yeah. So as soon as you got into the groove, it's like, okay, let's design this around it. I've off of the one song that I've heard and the live show that I've seen, it totally makes sense because you want to utilize that voice as much as you can. Your voice is absolutely amazing. It's one of those very captivating, aggressive voices with this grit that, nor if you look at what I listen to, grit is just something that'll win me over no matter what. But also knowing how to utilize it and not overdoing it, which is something I really liked off of that single. You dip in and out of okay, there's this very aggressive voice, but also there's these really calm parts that you have. So it shows range, and then also again more of the aggressive tones. And like I said, the live show won me over. It's the one thing I was waiting, because I was let me I like this song and let me hear it live, and all of the tracks live sounded really good.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
But yeah, okay, so you come in. How, I guess, was that around the year and a half later mark?
Oh, it ended up being about I would say about 3 years ago.
Yeah. So timeline wise, I say it started me and Jordan, and then we had my friend Ryan Bentley, who used to play in the band Memphis Mayfire. Okay. He was a part of the OG Memphis lineup, and he played in that band through, I think it was right before Challenger came out. So up through 2012-ish, he was in that band. And he and I have always just been friends over the years, and worked at Guitar Center together, both lived in Denton in the same area for a long time. So he was a part of the initial lineup, along with Jordan, myself, and Logan, who currently plays bass. But at the time, he played drums, and Jordan was the bass player. And over time, when Austin came into the picture, we had 9 demos.
Wow.
Written, but they're all in kind of the sound that we were shaping at the time. Oh, okay. So we kind of came to a conclusion okay, I think we need to ditch the vast majority. I think we may have just gotten rid of all of them.
Actually, what became this song called Diving Bell.
Okay,
was one of the original demos.
We did have that one.
Yeah, we did repurpose that one, but that one was one of the few.
Yeah,
wow. Yeah. A lot. Most of the record is all new.
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah, that's tough.
So yeah, it was. It was a tough decision to make, because it's when you spend hours, shaping songs or song ideas or what you hope will be turned into something, it's was that time wasted or whatever? It's no, it's it helped us get to where we're at now. But it was a tough call, but I think we definitely, looking back now, it was the right decision. And then when, I think, because we knew Austin just from the scene and his previous bands, and we always knew him as a super strong vocalist. And I think you had put out an acoustic based record, or a softer, more melodic record, solo record.
That's correct. I put out my debut solo record in 2018.
Okay.
And it was very, very different from this stuff. It's mostly folky, slow, piano ballads, acoustic, very, solo singer-songwriter type stuff. Did that at that point.
Yeah, and I remember, I think either Jordan connected with you or reached out through Instagram, connected that way. And then, because we were posting hey, we need a vocalist for a band, and then he sent me your solo record, and I was yeah, it's I don't care what we have to do. We need this voice in the band. You know, it was kind of like, it's like, I don't know what the plan is. I just know I want him to sing because I know it'll be great. And then we'll figure out everything else later. And that's kind of where, for me, that was kind of the starting point. And it definitely was a nice challenge as far as like finding music that suited and scratched all the itches that I wanted to scratch as far as like being in a band, but also made sense for his voice. And it took a little bit to kind of land on that. Yeah. But once I think we found it, we were like, okay, this is cool. Yeah.
And I do feel like Voyeur as a single is a good representation of the record that we'll talk about later. Just of what we sound like, generally speaking. Like there's a really great balance of dynamic, heavy, soft, loud, quiet, and it's very versatile. I mean, I think people of all different musical tastes, like as far as like heavy rock is concerned, are really going to get something out of this. And Voyeur encapsulates a lot of that. Yeah. So if you like Voyeur, you're probably going to like everything else.
Yeah. That hypes me the fuck up. That's awesome. I can tell you, like, that was an instant, like, I'm hooked on this band. Like, I'm going to follow. That's why, like, it's one of those where I jump and I'm like, what else is there? And I'm like, it's just this single. And I'm like,
sorry.
But that also, like, to me is just like, what a first track to put out. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a strong song. And then hearing that the rest of them are going to be like in the same vein of this stuff, it sounds really like exciting and like fun. But that writing together, like, I mean, you were mentioning that it kind of like took some tinkering to figure out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would assume so with like having to restructure like all the songs to fit now like a new sound, but also the willingness to do that, like, because when you're like the way you're saying, like, oh, I heard his voice, like, I will do whatever it takes to have it in this band, and then like literally trashing 8 songs to figure out how to like repurpose and how to like write new stuff to work around this. And like that's doesn't sound like it's as smooth as it sounds now. Like,
looking back, I mean, we did say it's taken us 3 years to get out one song when you think about it that way.
Yeah, if you think about it that way, but we're so close with all the other ones, and it's like,
we've been putting the work in for sure, behind the scenes, and we're just trying to do it justice and release things properly. But and honestly, it took, and part of the reason it took a minute is also like the guys we had in the band, while still all amazing friends, and there's no shade or anything whatsoever. I think there was just a few points that we struggled to kind of land on the same page as far as what we wanted to do. And there were certain things we were, but like the cohesive whole, like we even had a hard time landing on the band name and stuff.
The band
like
name took a second.
That took way too long. Like we had several, like quite a few songs written, like 6 songs before we could even land on the band name. But and I think it was also, and within this whole period, I've had 2 kids, so I was like just trying to figure out being a dad and that whole thing in the process of starting a project, and also just time frame I was like, it's gonna be moving at a little bit slower pace, but I'm committed to it, and we're gonna see it through. So I think there was just some challenges as far as like moving at a rate where everybody was happy. Like everybody's, some people just wanted to play shows, like, and stuff like that. And there was some artistic differences as far as like sound of like the bandwidth of our sound. Like, do we step into this territory, and is this off limits, or is this not, it was a lot of that stuff. So it got to a point to where both Jordan and Ryan decided to to take a step down, which is mutual and completely on great terms. And I still love both those guys. But then we got, Logan, who was on drums at the time. He's also he's a great bass player, and he played in a band called Drudge with Andrew Whiting from Tac Tac, and and he's played, and was it back in the day a little bit with Even Cameras Lie, I think.
So
he was at the tail end of that band. I think he was a part of it. So he's played in a few other bands. So my good friend Ray Rose, who played drums in Fever Youth, he's a phenomenal drummer as well. So I had a conversation with Logan. I was like, hey, it's you make the call, man. I'm happy with you on drums. I'm happy with you on bass. It's like, but I do have my friend who's also a really solid drummer. It's like, and I know you love bass. So if you wanted to play bass, that'd allow him to come into that spot. And he was like, yeah, he was totally down. He switched to bass, got Ray in there, and my good buddy Eric Jones, who also plays with me in a band called Words. He's the other guitar player in that band, and he's just been a great friend of mine for probably a decade now. Like it was like within a day's time, it's like we had Ray come in, and Eric's like, "Hey, if that guitar spot's open, I heard about." It's like, "I'd like to join." He's like texting me. I was like, "Yeah, dude, it's yours if you want it, man." And the group that we have now, it's just the chemistry is there. You know, the vibe or whatever you want to call it it's always super positive and very constructive, and it's probably the most healthy, positive, fun, but also very, you know, we're all committed to it and we work diligently on it. It's so much fun being in the band, and everybody just gets along so well. So I'm super stoked on where it's at. It's
really crazy how many things have to come together and be right in order to be in a band that feels that way. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Again, like musical differences, just being able to hang around with the other person. Like, how do you understand each other when you write? Like, can you communicate effectively? Like, so many things that like easily like can tear bands apart or like just make them not work. But I think, and this will like probably lead me into this question, is like, do you think because of the experience of like all the members in it, it's kind of easier to tell, hey, this isn't going to work, let's kind of like move on from it? Because I know like in earlier stuff, and it probably compares to a lot of other stuff, but you kind of see those things, but still like, we can still try it and like work it out.
Yeah,
but I think like with everybody like having been in like projects and bands and like, do you feel like you know yourself a little more to you're like, okay, I know where I can compromise and I know where I don't want to?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the guys that were in the band prior, it's like I had known them, like we've been friends for literally decades. I've known Jordan since he picked up a bass when he was, and even before then, like we're childhood friends and stuff. So it's like I knew the guys who were in it for so long. Like I knew their personalities, and you know, I was also a thing. It's like I know like there's things you don't want to compromise, so it's not doing right by you. And I think we were all just mature enough to kind of see like, okay, it's like this. Sometimes you try a band with a group of people and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and that's fine. And it's like it doesn't have to be this dramatic thing. And I think it was for the best. And but yeah, it also makes you appreciate when it does click and it does work. It's awesome and it's so much fun, and that's what I really want everybody in this band to just enjoy themselves. Like we're all older, we're all in, you know, are either late 20s, mid to late 30s. You know, it's life's too short. We all got other responsibilities in our lives, you know, career, whatever, but we just want it to be enjoyable. We want it to be a good time and fun, and then also create art we're super proud of. So I think this group of people really understands that, and we're all on the same page, and we can communicate openly about stuff. It's like, hey, I got a lot of things in life. We have to put this on pause for like a week or something like that. And nobody gets up in arms about it. Everyone's like, cool, man, you know, take care of your family, do what you need to do. And that's super healthy. And it's been really, really, it's made it a lot of fun for sure. Yeah.
It's made it so much more seamless and enjoyable to not have that pressure or that, you know, just kind of unnecessary, just boundary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. We're talking about like chemistry and communication, but I feel like no matter what, like a band, like how good the chemistry is, like one thing you guys mentioned, like band names always seem to be like
the dude, it's so hard.
Super hard. Like
it's always hard. Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how good chemistry people like. There's always someone who's gonna be like, you can have like a unanimous decision, but one person is just like, no, that's about it. And there's no explanation.
It's like, so, I'm not feeling it, man. It was like, whoa, okay, well, what are, you know?
Yeah, I always tell this story, but like when I was in a band, like the way we decided is we wrote down, everybody got to pick 2 words, and we wrote them and put them in a hat and picked out 2.
There you go. There you go.
That's very, because we were having that argument. We had songs written. I think we were about to play a show or something, and they're like, we need a name for the flyer, and we're like, and then I think someone just like, I can't remember who in the band just lost it, and he's like, you know what? Grabbed a piece of paper, he's like, write just 2 words down, we're gonna do this. And Under Oblivion was the name.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, right.
Cool.
We were like, it sounds cool, like cool. I go, there it is, like, you know,
there it is.
What were some of your alternates? If you want to share.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, no, we were,
I think Concave was the other, like it was between Adorn and Concave.
And then I think there was one other one.
Yeah. But those, I remember it was kind of down between those two.
Yeah.
We were debating between.
Concave was definitely the other one.
Yeah.
Is anybody in the band that like doesn't like Adorn like the now?
No, I think everybody loves it.
Okay.
That ended up being unanimous.
And I liked both at the time for sure. I think Adorn, and with that perspective, I like Adorn more now, thankfully.
Yeah, me too.
But I liked both, and I was kind of at the point. It's like, guy, like I'm cool either way, whatever the majority feels like is the best one. And but I'm happy with the band name. I think it's cool. We knew we wanted something one word, simple.
Yeah.
And because we've all been in those bands that have like super long names, it's like whenever you're telling a band name to somebody, you want it to catch on and then understand what it is and stick in their mind.
Yeah, phonetically simple, easy to remember.
Yeah, Adorn for like just does sound like cool as fuck. Like when you hear it, like it's like, oh, I mean, when I found it again, like Adorn, I was like, that sounds cool. And then like even just, it might just be now because like now I'm adding my own type of like meaning into like I know that I like the band, but I'll look at the name and be like, that looks like a cool name. Like just
sweet.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff you have to go into like with names. It's like where shit that I would have never thought of, but like searchability of that shit.
Right. And alphabetically it makes sense.
And I did that too. And that was one of the few that I had searched for that didn't have anyone, that wasn't like 50 listeners or whatever on Spotify that had taken it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, this is about as free as a name can be. That meets kind of the prerequisites for what we're looking for. So I'm like, well, let's just try it.
Let's just do this one before somebody takes it.
Exactly. And I think we even had, after we had reserved, I think it's like the Instagram account or something, and it was like only like months later somebody's messaging us because we hadn't posted anything because we were still in the works. Just like, hey, is this still active? Like, can we buy this name from you? Because another band was wanting the name, like, and we're like, sorry, dudes, we got it. It's like it's all going in the background right now, but it's going to be a thing. So it's just funny how that happened. So I'm glad we got it when we did.
Me too.
But and I think one thing, and it's just funny looking back on it all, like we had done so much work, but I think our first show is honestly what really expedited getting Voyeur out even sooner than
Which was a huge show, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was opening for Saosin at Trees, which I've known Orlando and like the Third String guys for some time, just playing shows, and we've always had a good relationship with them, and it was one of those shows where it's like bands in town or whatever. I always run searches on seeing what tours are coming through, and then I look at who the promoter for the show is, and if like they're a certain range of band that I know that there's potential for local support on that show, and if Third String's running it or somebody I know, I always reach out to them way in advance. I'm like, hey, I see this show's coming through on this time. If there ever is an option for local support to become available, I want to put my name in a hat. And if not, perfectly fine. But just, it was totally that type of thing. And I got messaged back, and we didn't even have any presence online. I just sent him, I literally sent him a Dropbox link. I was like, here's a pre-production version of our first single, we think, and expecting absolutely nothing. I just Saosin. I just love Saosin. I was like, it'd be so sick to play with him. So it was kind of just a Hail Mary of a move. And then Orlando hit back and he was like, no, it's like they're just doing a solo show. They just want to play a super long set, no local support. But he's like, but if it changes, I'll let you know. And I was like, oh man. And what's funny is I think I bought Incubus tickets for that night because I was because I was like,
it was you and Eric.
Both Eric and I both bought tickets to go see Incubus that night because I was like, Saosin played recently. When So What Fest happened and it got rained out, they did a show at Tulips. And I was able to see that one. I was like, well, that's one of the best Saosin shows I'll ever see. So I'll go see Incubus this night and that'll be fine. And then like after, a week or two buying the tickets to see Incubus on the same night, Orlando's like, hey, actually, they have local band openings. He's like, you want me to submit you guys to see if they'll approve you? And he's like, I just need something. He's like, I need a write-up logo or something, just to show that you're an actual band that really exists, and not just because we still didn't have anything online at that point.
Zero anything.
Are you like rushing to get shit?
Dude,
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Yeah,
It was
it accelerated our timeline like full stop. Like
probably a month or two.
Yeah, I mean, we were at the very end with Voyeur. Like, it was finished being mixed. I was mastering it, and we were already like planning to get that done by a certain point. But then we're like, well,
yeah,
there ever was an incentive.
Yeah, there was an incentive. It's now,
So we didn't have logos designed, and I actually ended up
did the logo.
Designed the logo. I was like just churning out as many as I could in a short time frame, sending them to the band. I was like, does this look cool? This is cool. This is cool. And eventually we landed on what we had there, and I like send that to Orlando, and we like the week or so before at a practice space. Logan is also our bass player, super into photography and videography.
Yep.
So he's like, yeah, I think I can set up cool lights, and we can snap a promo pic, and all this stuff. Like the few weeks before, we were just scrambling to get together to look like a real band to the internet.
Yeah, that's right.
So we threw it all together, and it turned out really cool. And Orlando, and they had to, I guess, get Saosin's management or somebody in the Saosin camp had to approve it. And I was like, guys, I mean, they're submitting us for it. I don't think we'll get it because we don't look like we are a real band. And they came back, and he was like, no, he's like, he loved the song. You guys got it. We're like, sick. Okay,
that's so fucking sick.
Yeah, I remember I was in downtown Plano, like at a coffee shop, like leaving to go to lunch or something, when I got the text from Kayla. He's like, guys, we got the Saosin show.
Yeah.
I get in my car and I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, oh shit, okay, this is real now.
Okay,
like, all right, we gotta go.
Because it's been this idea and concept in your head for such a long time, and it's like, okay, the rubber's actually meeting the road. It's like, we gotta deliver on this, and then the pressure began. It's like, okay, it's like, we know we got songs, but we have to dial in our set, and also not just be able to play songs, but look confident playing the songs and deliver, because it's a great opportunity, but it's only as good as we could do with it. It's like, if you're throwing yourselves up for your first show in front of a decent sized crowd, it's like, you want to be able to deliver so people can walk away being like, dude, I want to see that band again. So then the pressure came. But I felt at the end of it, we all, done this long enough to where we were able to prepare, and we practiced a bunch, and I was super, as far as first shows go, like, I was very happy with how it went.
So was I. Yeah. Like, I could not be happier with how that show went. Like, great turnout. We all played tight. We were all together. We didn't have any technical issues. I mean, it really went off without a hitch. I mean, it was a lot of prep, but it was worth it. And the response was just, it was super positive.
We didn't even have like shirts.
We didn't even have shirts.
We did.
We did.
2 days before, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna run. I went to H&M and found a bunch of coupons, and they ended up screwing up my order. But because of that, they gave me even a bigger discount. So I was like, sick. So I got like all these shirts, and then we had a friend who has like, and not great, but like it had a kind of a screen printer thing, and I was like, sent him our logo, and he just stamped it on a bunch of shirts.
Yep.
I was like, we just wanted something to have there, and so it all came together.
And people bought them.
People and nothing else. I was like, even if the logo doesn't look awesome, it's still an H&M shirt, so it's like it's reasonably okay quality.
Right?
So,
it wasn't some cheap, Hanes or Gildan, whatever. Like, it was a decent quality shirt.
And so people were also like, they just want to support. So
the thing is,
super
when
nice.
people buy merch, like, a big part of it is sure it looks cool or whatever, but the biggest part is just like, I fucking love what I just saw. I want something to take away from this, like, even and then like once you think about support, but especially like, again, like someone opening and being like, fuck, that band was cool, I'm gonna go like run over there and pick up. I normally, like, if that happens to me, like, I go and pick up like whatever I can find, like if there's something, if there's a shirt or whatever, even if it's like, if I experience a performance like that, I'm not very picky on like what I'm looking at.
Same.
I'm just like, I want to get something. Like, it gets, again, me to, also when I think about it, it's like, I also help spread like more people to see the band, because I'm like, I'm wearing it. So if someone asks about it, I was like, well, let me fucking talk your ear off about it.
Yep. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah, but that's one thing I know when I was in a band, like, I had to like really pay, because I was always like, it's gotta be like a bang for your buck type of thing with merch. So I was like, I would be very like selective on that type of stuff, and I'd be like, we can't charge this much. So I would charge like couple dollars on like costs, like
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just like, oh, like I don't want to charge that much or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like I can't remember who, but someone sat me down. It's like people like will spend money on you because they're trying to support what like they just saw. Like you know, so
100%. Yeah.
it took a little bit of like, okay, like you don't have to like price gouge the shit out of this
Right,
stuff,
right,
but you
right,
can
yeah.
also like there's also not just like cost of making it, it's like the effort to go in, like again you're playing your show, all these things,
right?
but
And I think there's a bit of an imposter syndrome that comes with that
Very
too,
much so,
especially as a
yeah.
new band where you're like, well, we can't justify $20 for a shirt. No one knows who the fuck we are.
Yeah.
We're brand new, like whatever.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not true, but it does kind of come with the territory of just like trying to prove your worth in a
Yeah.
sense, right? Or prove your value to people of like, okay, well, we're for real.
Yeah.
You know?
with I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
With the pressure of you coming into the band, and do you know that the band's changing like their entire sound to fit your voice when you're coming in?
I mean, like yes and no. Like it wasn't the most like explicit discussion. We kind of
Right.
it was sort of just implied that like, oh yeah, well let's try some more stuff. And then as they kept sending in other demos, I noticed that they were becoming more melodic and less metalcore-y and more just kind of alt rock, I guess. And I was like, this sounds good. I'm gonna roll with it, and just write to it.
Yeah, and there were some like heavier musical songs that you put your vocals on. It still sounded sick, but I was like, but this isn't. It's not representing him the best. Like it's not serving his voice the best, and so we wanted to make that decision. And it was cool because it pushed me a little bit outside of my comfort zone. The same thing I'd been doing because Fever Youth was a very like post-hardcore kind of metalcore adjacent band. And so it's like it felt refreshing, challenging, but refreshing to not just do the same thing. And when I listen back, it still sounds like riffs I wrote because I don't know. It's like I can't get away from it sometimes.
Oh,
but
you have a distinct thing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I know
and
it's a riff you wrote.
Yeah. And but it tailored it to fit a more melodic sense, and I kind of I don't know, and I think I stuck with it, but I kind of made a decision. What I realized is like, okay, there's no explicit chugging in the music, which just sounds ridiculous.
Okay.
I was like,
there
if
isn't
it's going
any
to be
chugging.
a breakdown type section, it's going to be more like, like Under Oath breakdown from like, Define the Great Line or something like that, where it's like more open, like moment is suspended in time, that type of song where it's like just big downbeats, big open chords, space, open chord, it wasn't a very like August Burns Red type thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of made those decisions. It's like, I still can write the spirit of this riff, but then tailor it to what I feel like feels right for the sound. And I still felt really satisfied with the end result. And a lot of times I ended up liking it better because I felt like it wasn't like as niche. It was a little bit more accessible in a positive way, but still was very much genuine,
Yeah,
and I think that's something that's kind of organically happened with this band. It's probably one of the more accessible projects I've been a part of, but it happened completely organically, and it's like the songs are coming out, or it's like, oh, that's pretty catchy, or that's a vocal line that's very memorable, or something like that. It feels good to feel 100% genuine about it, and I still think a broad audience would get into it just because it's not. Not to say there isn't screaming in it, but screaming is more of an accent, not so much a foundational element. It's a tool in the tool belt, but it's not like everything.
Yeah, I would say we've been choosy about which parts to include that in to really heighten the tension and make sure the payoff is there. And I tend to approach songwriting from a very like narrative driven and like oftentimes autobiographical sort of standpoint. So I really want to make sure what I'm saying is carries as much weight as how I'm saying it. And so with that, tends to come a lot of nuance and a lot of opportunity to get creative with my melody choices and the things that I would want to say. And the way that Kaylin has presented a lot of these instrumental ideas just gave me total like a playground to work with, just these beautiful, heavy but like melodic, ideas that I'm like, okay, well I can go crazy on this. I can do all kinds of cool stuff, and that is exactly what happened. And I think implicitly, Kaylin has trusted me.
For sure,
run with it.
I wasn't worried. I was like, as long as I get this in, it's like, I get it in the ballpark. I know he'll take it and run with it and make it awesome.
Exactly.
And I feel like it also, I would say I say I'm a chef in a lot of ways, where I gather all the ingredients and like put it together in a pot. But one thing that's super cool is it's like a lot of the ideas, initial foundational ideas for a lot of the songs actually came from other places. It like there's a few songs that I would say are probably my songs in terms of foundation, but like he brought the Voyeur idea.
Yeah, Voyeur was actually one of mine.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I wrote the all the way up through the first chorus. Like I wrote, both verses and both choruses.
Yeah.
I wrote that initially and brought it to them as one of my things that I wrote that like maybe 2014, 15, something like that. It sat in a Google Drive forever.
Yeah.
But it was in the same key, like very similar to what you hear now. But I gave it to them, and I'm like, well, let's see, what we can do with this. And then he took it and amplified it times 100. And I'm like, this is so much fucking better.
Don't delete those fucking songs.
No, dude, that's right.
Yeah,
if there's something
like,
to take away from this podcast, it's do not delete your demos. It's sitting in your Google Drive from 10 years ago, because they can come back and become badass songs later.
Dude, it's so funny. I was like, you got anything else in that Google Drive?
That should have been 10 years. Like,
Well, and the closing song on this record that we'll be putting out is also one of mine.
It's the same thing. I was like, dude, you got any other gems in there? Because it was totally like he sent that, and I was getting the brain tingles. I was like, yeah, dude, there's something here, and it was like maybe a day of like beefing it up or whatever, and kind of having it pivot towards the sound we were going for. And we're like, yeah, that's it. And then we refined the bridge and the outro. And I was like, I'm hearing like an O Sleeper type riff over this section, so I'm just gonna rip Shane Blay off, and it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, that's
It's like,
that's what he did.
It was very like it's if anything, it's just a tribute to how good of a guitar player he is. But I was in the. So it was cool how that came about, and like the song I say technically the second song we opened our set with, Raven Blood Defiant, which is like the first kind of energetic track, because we had that like kind of
intro,
ballady
intro thing. Yeah.
That was actually an idea Logan, our bass player, he had.
Yeah, he wrote that
for years. Same thing, like sitting in a Dropbox or Google Drive folder for years.
Yeah.
And he sent it to me. I was like, dude, this could be something. And then it turned into
that, and it feels like thrice worship in the best way. I'm so here for it.
Yeah. There's a lot of that, and I'm trying to think other songs. There's several, and then I say like Ryan Bentley, he contributed a few like foundational ideas that turned into songs.
0 Hour,
like the song we ended our set with. Like he wrote the initial kind of riffs to that song. Yeah. Then we took it and molded it into like a more like proper song structure.
That's right.
And so there was a lot of ideas, partially, and it was kind of one of those situations where I was trying to utilize limitations. It's like being a new dad, it's like I don't have all the time in the world to just sit and riff. I was like, just shoot me what you got, and then I'll sift through it, and if something's inspiring, then I'll throw it in a session and just try to build off that. And that was super helpful to me. And also it's like I felt like I wanted everybody to be included. I don't like I've been in bands where it's like just I write everything, and it's like, well, then it lacks character, because it's just my voice, and I want everybody's voice to be a part of it.
Exactly. And another important component to how we ended up doing this was we did it all virtually.
Yeah.
We did not meet in a room whatsoever for the first year and a half,
until like songs were like we had completed songs, and we were like
songs. Like all of it was done over like Discord and audio movers. Just like sending riffs back and forth, doing some like live stream type stuff where Kalen would live stream his DAW, and we would he would write in real time, and then we would like throw suggestions, and we would all be in the room kind of thing. That's sick. But that's what we had to do at first, because I mean, the majority of the guys in this band are married. Some of half of them have kids. So like it just, there wasn't really that flexibility.
And we lived pretty far apart. We still live pretty, at least like an hour-ish
relatively
away. So is hard to get in a room together. So I was like, just go over Discord, throw up my session, and just throw me your ideas, and I'll track them in there. And even I remember in the early days, Jordan would be listening in real time, and he would record his bass parts
in real time.
But then like export it and then send them to me, and then I'd pull them into my session. It was just
like all in the same night.
Yeah.
Just like really like going through it as quickly and efficiently as we could. Which, I mean, to Jordan's credit, like that approach like did move the needle.
It really got things established.
Foundationally, like it really helped. Like, okay, cool, we got something here. Let's move on to the next thing. Really, got the fire under our ass.
So to speak. for sure.
That method of writing, you are the second band that I've heard that from it, and it's still as cool sounding as when the in real time, like literally someone's recording on their dog, like just live streaming it. And there's another kid that I had. His name is Nick Ryland, and him and I forgot. I think his cousin write music, and he's out of state, but they do the same thing. They do it over Discord and do it live and like export stuff back and forth. And I'm like, that is where I was always wondering. I was like, where does that what is the replacement for that spending hours jamming together? Getting together and jamming. I wonder what that new thing, because I've heard of people like tracking stuff and like, sending an idea and like, okay, then I'll send one back. But I'm like, what about that like in real time? Like where's that going? And I heard that, and then hearing you guys talk about it, like that seems like to me, what would be like so fun to do, like in person, like talking to each other. What if you try this? Okay, cool. Yeah, let's send it. Like I'm listening to it right now. Like it's cool to strike that like inspiration or idea like while it's happening at the moment, and you get actual input from like the rest of the band. Like
absolutely. Like I remember the heavy breakdown section of Voyeur came up during one of those Discord sessions. Like I think it might have been me actually that was like the with all the feedback and the right before the Sleeper solo comes in. I think that was me that just in one of those meetings we did where I was like, why don't we just try just like letting it ring out and letting a bunch of feedback happen and yada yada. So like that ended up coming out in real time.
And it's also just ended up being more economical, because it's like sometimes you track an idea, you hope they like it, you send it. Sometimes they're like, yeah, that's sick, or like, no, I'm not feeling it. And we're like, okay, back to the drawing board. So doing it, like asking us like, think this, what do you think right now? And they can see a yes or no. And I feel like just having that constant interaction helped refine it a lot faster. I mean, I love getting in a room and jamming, and there's no real replacement for it, but that's definitely the closest we could get. And it was nice to come into a room to kind of finally jam together with actual like structured songs that we had all learned. So it was like we were kind of like, all right, I guess first practice we were able to like click the hi-hat off and actually like play a full song and be like, how'd that feel in real life?
Exactly.
It was kind of an odd feeling, but it was still really cool. It was
weird to show up playing a song together for the first time that we had never actually written together.
Running through it. Okay, cool.
But then it ended up really working, and especially once we got the lineup, the current lineup now, and really locked in for that first rehearsal for the Saosin show. That was really like, okay, we're in it now. Like, we've got the flow, we've got the thing.
Those shows will do it, definitely. Like when you play it and it locks in, and you're like, okay, we need to fucking like do this like now.
And it was, and just having such a like a good first show opportunity, like again, like I said, it expedited everything. It forced our hand in a way, and so it's like when our second one came up, I think it was like Ema Night or something like that. It was like there was less pressure on it, and still, but like we felt good and rehearsed because we had prepared so much, and it felt pretty natural, and it felt good, even though it was at 1:15 in the morning, and we were like,
we Emo Night sets, rough sometimes,
but it still felt great and like felt pretty dialed in and stuff like that. So it was a good starting point, and the shows we've played ever since have been a lot of fun, and we've enjoyed it a lot. So
yeah, absolutely, and I think it goes a long way that, like Kaylin was talking about earlier, like our whole approach is making sure that this is as seamless and as fun and as accessible for us as possible, and there's not this weird unnecessary kind of tension or ego. Like we're all really good friends and really understand each other's like work-life balance and responsibilities and families and everything, and so we get to just come together for these shows and just let it fucking rip. And we really get to look forward to it and not have a lot of the other kind of more trivial stuff hang over prior to. So like for example, at the show the other night at Tulips, like we just it was our first one in a minute. We're just like, okay, let's do it.
And it was with so many good friends too. Like we played with Set Adrift a few times, or at least a couple times.
Yeah, in December.
We love those dudes, and they're such a good band. And so it's always fun to play with guys that were and like Trey and that band Eric and I are good friends with, and we've gotten to know the other guys in the band just through that, and it's always fun to not only play shows with friends, but friends that are in bands that are freaking rad. It's like it made it so that night, that Tulips the other night was so fun because it was just a bunch of friends playing a show together, and we genuinely love each other's bands. So they're super supportive of us and us of them. And Brave Days guys, like I've known them for a long time, and I've watched them grow and develop as a band, and I love those dudes too. So it was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely a sick show. And like that is a cool thing to have around, where like peers of yours like can be like some of like your favorite bands around here. And I'm like, I love the fact that like people that live 10, 15 an hour at most, like for me, like are making music that I fucking like think is amazing. You know what I mean? And I say it a lot. I was like, I support all my friends, like, but don't necessarily like all their stuff. Like, that's fine.
Sure,
like,
and that's fine. That's normal.
But also, like on the other end of the spectrum, like there's some like bands that are like my friends that I fucking love. Like I will like support this. Like what do you? Because like that's the audience you should be reaching for, is the people that like genuinely like are supporting you because of like the art you're putting out.
Exactly.
It's a balance of both, I think.
For sure.
Those true fans are like what you are after, like to be able to do bigger things.
Absolutely.
I do want to ask about, I mean, it's like I feel like I keep bringing up Voyeur, but I mean it is the only song.
The only song. We'll talk about maybe a couple.
You were talking about the way you write in like more of like of a narrative form, and that was one that immediately I asked Kayla like right away. I was like, "Can you send me lyrics for this?" So I was like looking them up, and I'm like, "They're not anywhere." So like I got a PDF document, and I'm like reading them through it. But it does read that like very storytelling, like and very intentional with like every like word and like line that was in there. What is I guess from your point of view, what is Voyeur like?
So Voyeur is really about a snapshot of a moment in time into your mental state. And it's, for me, it's a snapshot of a particular point where I felt at complete odds with myself. Like I could not rationalize in my own head how to be somebody who could be lovable and be someone who could solve problems, like be someone who is, an equal in a relationship. And so there was this one particular, kind of incident. I don't know if I call it an incident, but just like a time where I was really, really frustrated with myself after a relationship that I was in 2017 ended. And I just could not like come to grips with the fact that like I was this person who was insufferable. Like I felt like I was insufferable. And they ended up leaving because I recognized that I wasn't where they were in terms of like being able to love them in the way that they wanted to be loved. And granted, like people, they deserve to be loved in the way that they want to be loved. But because I couldn't meet them there, I felt like I had failed them. But at the same time, I felt like I was failing myself because I, lost this person, right? So ultimately, it was like kind of this just back and forth about like, why am I the way that I am? Why am I so difficult? And I think all of us can relate to having times where we feel like we don't understand ourselves, like why, or logically, why we make the choices that we make. And so I wanted to really like take a frenetic, tumultuous internal dialogue like that and map it onto, like a story of sorts, where, it's like very visually, how do I put it? Like a more like a visual representation. So the story that I use in Voyeur is one of like someone quite literally, voyeuring or, like seeing on the outside of this hotel room, and they are seeing themselves within the hotel room, like looking through a window, and they're seeing themselves basically like make love like with their mental illness, essentially, like actually like engaging in this like very physical, like carnal, like reciprocity of like the parts of themselves that they like don't like, and then and you just like you're like, well, but you want to stop them, you want to be like, stop doing these things, stop being this person who has to give in, right, to these like compulsions, but you can't communicate because you'll give yourself away. You don't want to be, you don't want to reveal like, that you're there. Right. So you're just kind of stuck like screaming in silence. You're kind of, it's right here. It's on the tip of your tongue, but you can't really say it. And that's more or less like, the whole narrative is just like you have a story that you want to, you want to get through to yourself, but you cannot for one reason or another. And, you're not understanding it. It's not clicking. So ultimately, it's really just about like knowing that, while you can get better, you can be a person who can heal and, of course be, better to yourself and, subsequently like be better to other people. I wanted to at least share the experience of like what it felt like for me in that moment of just like, I cannot get through to me. I cannot reconcile with who I am right now.
Yeah.
And what that was like.
Wow. Okay. That's really, really, really cool. And again, like I knew I had only scratched the surface, so I really like that I got to like hear that explanation. But I like the way you started it as saying it's a snapshot, and then the way you ended it right now, like yes, you can get better, like type of thing, but it's not. It's not a bad thing to share like these like vulnerable moments or these moments where you're not doing like the right thing. I used to like, it was one of the biggest conflicts I had with like when I was writing music is I would always like justify, well, like I can't really say, I shouldn't write this because it's not right. Like obviously it's not right to be, doing these things or whatever it was. So sometimes I would keep myself from writing because I'm like, I was scared of capturing the snapshot, but then being okay with like, that's what it is. Like it's a snapshot. It's a moment of time. Like this does happen, but it's not the way like it continues. Like sometimes, or whatever.
Exactly.
Like again, the thing that you can get better from these things, but being able to talk about like these things and not like shying away with like how that struggle is, or recognizing it in yourself that like, yeah, I do these things. Like I recognize that I'm doing like these things, or giving in like to this part of myself, and knowing that I shouldn't be giving in, but like not doing anything to interfere. Like those things happen, like but being able to again to bring them to light with yourself. I know for me it always was that I'm like, oh, at least like I'm gonna admit it to myself and like in song form. It makes it a little easier.
It makes it a lot easier. Right.
Yeah, I was like, I could put a melody behind this.
That's right. And then the song doesn't judge you. The words don't judge you, right? Like, these are your words, and you're putting them to pen or paper, and it's like it's not gonna tell you that you're wrong. So
and it's very, and even though you're expressing vulnerability in those moments, it's like it's a very human emotion and feeling that so many people can relate to, and and I feel like even if it is a snapshot, just because it was your snapshot at that moment in time doesn't mean it's not this person's snapshot currently. And they can connect with that and then find, it's like, dude, that guy's going through something I'm going through now. And and it can be cathartic in a way. So I think
most people like who have ever heard a song that just stuck with them like is because of that. Like at that moment in time, like it captured something that it makes sense to you. And like we've had, I know like for sure we've all had like those moments where we have like one specific song that feels like this song is written like about everything that I'm going through. Like, and it feels like, oh, you know, they're writing about me. Or it's someone, again, even like sometimes where you like, again, we're talking about the song doesn't judge you. So sometimes like you don't vocalize these things. I mean, someone who doesn't write music or whatever, like maybe it's just like knows they feel this but aren't telling anybody. Right. And then they hear a song where I'm like, oh, this person's singing about it, and like that's what I feel right now. So you find out like, oh, okay, like somebody, this does happen somewhere else, and it's weird, and sometimes like it feels like a little cheesy talking about music. I was like, oh yeah, you know, it'll relate to somebody, but it does, like it genuinely connects people, like in such a healthy like way for you like to experience that yourself, and also for somebody on the receiving end, again, to feel not alone, feel like somebody else gets it, like the way they're feeling, and again, through music is something that even like the sad stuff brings me joy, you know what I mean, which I fucking love, like shit that's sad, like that's my thing, and I'm like,
same here.
It's one thing. I talk about with my fiance all the time, and I'm just like, I just love the sad shit, man. It's just really fucking good. And he's like, how do you listen to this? And I'm like having the greatest time of my life listening to sad shit. Like I'm not sad like this. Like I feel really happy listening to this. Like I just like it. Like it's good. But I think it's just that that connection to like those emotions with against someone I don't know, but I'm like listening to it, and like I think when I was younger was a lot more lyricism, and then when I'm like as I get older, it's a lot more just like what the song feels like. But in some cases, like again with this particular song, was one that I heard and had that instant connection, and immediately I was like, it was so like strong for me that I was like, I need to know like what's being said in this. Where like so I was like, I need to seek out like these lyrics and know like what the story is. But yeah, I mean, art is all subjective, so you write it one way, somebody takes it 100%. The way they need it.
That's what's cool about it.
Exactly.
It's fucking sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we kind of mentioned throughout a little bit, been little drops of like there's other songs, obviously play sets. That's but it's all part of something.
That's right.
Okay, which do you guys want to talk
about? For sure.
100%. So we've been we're working on a full-length record. We're nearly finished. It is excruciatingly close.
Yeah, so close.
We gotta wait for Saosin to come back.
It's like Cove is like, get me on the phone. It's like, we need this record, man. The world needs
right. So Kalen and I work as a bit of a dynamic duo of sorts, in that like he operates in the producer mixer engineer lane. And I operate in the mastering engineer lane. And we've approached it that way for every song so far, including Voyeur. And I feel like it's a dynamic that works really, really well for us. Like we both have an understanding of what it is that we're great at and what our strengths are. In terms of just like audio, and we can have a back and forth and put that together. So when we officially started making music together in this format 3 years ago, we started working through these songs and kind of establishing a thread that connects all of them, and kind of just going through them line by line and and working on them, and eventually like demoing them and turning them into proper production ready type songs, and then actually finalizing mixes and doing the final recordings and stuff. And so we're at the very end. Nearly all the recording is done. We're at like 95% at this point. Over half of the songs are mixed. Some of them are mastered. I'm waiting to master the rest until the rest of them are done, so I can do them all together and make sure that they're cohesive in the way that we want them to be. But yeah, so we have a 10-song record that is very, very close. And I won't share the name yet. I'm gonna hold on to that just a little bit longer. But we do have a single that is locked and loaded, ready to go. We are just waiting on artwork, and we should have that back like next week. So once we have that, then we will be doing a fun announcement.
We got
and all that good stuff.
All the hard work on, especially the single, all the hard work's done. It's just like it's like waiting for because we were very adamant about it's like we don't. With every facet, we want it to be do it with integrity, and AI being a thing that's out there and it's worked its way into a lot of like bands' workflows, and that's fine. But for us, it's like we want real human hands in every element. So like as far as artwork is concerned, we could have, done AI generated stuff, but like, no, we want to hire a proper artist to who listens to our music and can take it in and then create, an album cover or a single cover that is burst out of the music itself. So we've put value on that, and we made the tough decision. Okay, it's going to take a little longer to get stuff out, but we want to make sure that it's done well. And like the Voyeur single release cover, that was like, again, Logan being a good photographer, he generated the image out of like, I think like photos in like his apartment or something like that. And I took it and manipulated it and added, and that got done for that. But we wanted, it was cool, but let's get like a true professional who really cares about it to do our artwork.
None of us are graphic designers,
right? Yeah,
so
we can do. It's like we can get by, but it's like there's definitely guys that can do it way better. And and we've kind of become. Like, I've said this before, and maybe other interviews, but it's like we're like the most unintentionally DIY band. It's like, and it just kind of organically. We didn't think initially from the get go that like, oh, we're gonna, engineer, produce, mix, master all ourselves, but the end product started being something we were really happy with, and we're like, well, why not, and let's give it our best shot. And if at the end of the day we feel like, oh, this is not meeting our bar of expectation, we'll invest in somebody else to do it. But we're really happy with how it's turning out. And I think being able to go back and forth with Austin and I, like, he has a macro view out of the micro view as far as the mix is concerned, and he can hear things and have perspective that I'm missing because I'm so in the weeds. He's like, hey, like the kick is pumping a little bit at 300 hertz, this little boxy sounding. Can you maybe notch that out? And I'm like, cool, all right, go back in. And so that interaction, I think, has really helped us both grow in our own craft, because it's something we both really care about, and also served the band well. And so we're really happy with how it's turning out.
Yeah, absolutely. No, everything he said. I
don't know. Like I see that happen more and more. And I know I'm like that type of person where I'll learn a skill because I need it. And normally don't like seek out a lot of skills unless I'm like, I need to get this done. And then either it becomes too expensive to hire out or whatever. Or just like, it would be more convenient if I just kind of learn how to do it. Yeah. But yeah, like stepping into roles that you're like, I mean, you didn't maybe come into the band being like, oh, I'm gonna mix everything on a master. We're gonna go everything through ourselves, and just figuring out like, oh, it's working. Like, but also recognizing the parts where I'm like, we can't, like, again, like graphic designer art was like, we can do these, like, but these are ones we're comfortable with. Like, okay, let's find somebody to help out. For sure. And I mean, now there's somebody that does everything. And not even like, and very like conveniently, like there's so many like to find and choose from, and people that you can be at pretty selective because there's a wide range of like artists out there and people doing like have every like different skill set. I know for sure. Like visually, that's not my thing. So graphic design, anything like that, like I can't do that.
Same. I can't draw the same way.
I forgot who I was talking to. I just had somebody on the podcast, and they were talking like, like I sucked at drawing, but now he does graphic design, and I'm just like, you overcame that hurdle. I can't overcome that. I'll like start drawing something, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? But yeah, like I mean, different skill sets that you pick up because like you need it, and I feel like as a musician, like having the skills that you guys have like is an incredible leg up, like into getting stuff done and being to be a little quicker with like again recording music, even the way you guys virtually like did your sessions and stuff like that. Like being able to do that is like again another like big leg up. And then a reason why like some of this stuff actually is coming to fruition is because of all these things. But and I think the band definitely reflects it. I know like on the surface it looks really new, but like obviously hearing now like it's worked on like for a while. But again, the timeline to me, like, and I was talking to this before, like when I was like setting up for it, I'm like, the band seems new, but the band also does not feel new. You know what I mean? It feels like these people like know what they're doing. Like you're putting out something that makes sense. And again, just feels like this is a group of like guys that like knows like what they're doing as far as like, songwriting, song structure, and then performance. Now where I like saw you guys in play, and I'm like, everything like about this band is like fucking solid. Like, but it's a group of guys that have like great chemistry together, and again, like, they are really seasoned in this like music game. Like, they you know what needs to get done, how to get it done, and like, you know what it's gonna take to get it done. And again, have the dedication, and it shows. I feel like it shows like very, very upfront. I think anybody who listens to the band, sees the band, like, can see that from the start. And again, me for one, like, I'm super fucking excited. I mean, 10 fucking songs, full length. You're talking like, you mean I don't get it just an EP? I get
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that was
awesome.
a very
it was a conscious choice to do that. And I mean, granted, the Saosin show definitely pushed our timeline, like we said, but the initial plan was kind of just to come out of nowhere with the record and, like, you know, not
kind of do
the whole like, well, we were a band, here's one song, 2 years goes by, kind of thing. Like, oh, here's another song. Like, I just didn't want to drag it out like that.
Yeah,
there really was no reason to establish something and then put it on hold for an extended period of time, when it's like, well, no one's waiting for this, like, other than us. So why not just let's get the record, finished, or as close to, logistically makes sense, and then actually, just come out strong with it. And so, they got pushed up a little, but not that much. The record's coming.
It kind of feels like I don't know if it's not directly this, but it's a little bit of a pushback on the current state of, like, how music is currently rolled out and consumed. If for better or for worse for us. Like, for us, we're very art first. Obviously, obviously we want to see success, like, see some level of success, but honestly, the success is the fact that the art exists. Like, ultimately, that is priority number one for us. Like, the fact that it's going to be out in the world for people to either choose to consume or not consume, the fact that it exists is the number one priority. So we wanted to kind of, like, because I still think people care about albums. Like, I think there's like this stigma of, like, singles, which I get the marketability, and I get the financial thought behind that, and it does make a lot of sense. But I think for those of us who, really care and grew up on records, it's like, you love a cohesive piece of art. You like, I like, in some ways, I kind of don't feel cheated, but, like, if there's a record I'm stoked on, but when it's actually released, it's like I've heard all but maybe like 2 songs on it, and it's like I feel like I wasn't able to digest it in the way my brain wants to digest it. So we're maybe unconventional route, but, like,
maybe a little bit, and
a couple singles, but then it's like, here's the body of work.
Exactly. It might show our age a little bit, but Kaylin and I,
old and crotchety old guys.
But Kaylin and I definitely come from the era where I went to to Best Buy to buy Under Earth, Lost in the Sound of Separation, and then I got in my car and I listened to it on CD right then and fucking there.
Dude, I was New Music Tuesdays was like my favorite day of the week.
Like, man. I planned it, explicitly planned it, and I listened to the whole thing from front to back, in one sitting, because I wanted to, see what it was and what it represented.
Maybe you had a single on MySpace or something, or Pure Volume you'd heard. But that was it.
Exactly,
I would always listen to, like, records all the way through, and when I saw the band live, and I'm like, they're not playing it in order. Like,
that's right. I
was like, oh, I was like, what are they doing?
Exactly. So there's a magic and an essence to that is kind of lost in the way we approach music now. At least in certain genres. Obviously, there are genres like jazz, for example, which, like, are very album centric still, and they're not dropping singles, right? But in, like, modern alt rock, post hardcore metal, whatever you want to call it, that's pretty much the name of the game right now. It's pretty single forward, and this is not, like Kaylin said, like, this is not to like shit on anybody or talk down, really, but it's just the way that we want to approach it. I'm a big believer, and so is he, and just a cohesive piece of art, representing something, especially one that's conceptual and has like a real a set of themes and things that tie it all together. And it'll be a cohesive experience for people when they do get to hear it. So.
And a lot of people, they may miss it, or they may not understand it, but for those who do, it's like that matters to us. It's like,
I obviously am a fan of, like, you putting out, like, full records, and, like, and it's in the same thing where you're talking about, like, oh, I've heard, like, most of this album, and actually this band is one of the bands that put me off. Like Sleep Token put Sundowning out, and then they released every song on the album. Like every 2 weeks there was a song, and it just went in order. And then when the album released, they released the last song, and I'm like, to me, to this day, that album is a bunch of singles. Like I don't see it as like an album. And then they've tweaked their approach. Like since I think the last album, like it was like one song, 1 month, or one week, and then I think like 2 weeks later they dropped another one, and then nothing, and then like a month or 2 months went by, then they dropped like something else, and then like the album. So it's like a different like whatever. I mean, but that band at this point can just drop and whatever.
Yeah, they can do what they want.
Exactly. But I mean,
I think just the burden that comes on y'all with this album is like, since you're not promoting it with like singles, like, and not having that that single mentality of like relevancy, where it's like, oh, we're putting it out so that our name is out there. When the album comes out, because it's such of like a labor of love, because there's so much like work going into this, the burden on you is now like, okay, how do we make this the album like as a whole? Like, how do we get people to listen to it and not just like move on to the next thing? That's when it comes in with like, you can create other stuff. Like you're talking about like people getting it, like, okay, like then you can start creating stuff to help people like understand it and like and listen to it as a whole, because that's a project like that is something you want people to appreciate. I mean, you put in your work, and obviously like that is one of the payoffs for yourself, is releasing it, but the other payoff is like, oh, people listening to it, you know, and enjoying it. But and that'll just be like figuring out, and I'm sure you guys definitely can like figure out how to create like little things here and there to keep pushing it. And again, like having an album, people going to shows like now know like songs like a little bit better, and like are able to, you know, sing lyrics back or do it.
Engage,
a lot of stuff comes with that.
And we still, you know, we definitely, when we release it, we're definitely going to continue to support it for as long as it has legs, you know. So it's like, if you know, thoughts in my head are like, if there's certain songs that people tend to gravitate towards that we haven't done like video content for, it's like then we can breathe new life into it by generating more visuals, and kind of, for me, it's like a lot of like videos and stuff like that's the full realization of the initial concept. So it's like it kind of can breathe new life into it, and so there's a lot of things we want to do there, and Logan being super into videography and just, you know, that whole world, like you know, we're excited to try to do some stuff there, and you know, we have more visual content coming along as well that we're stoked on, that looks cool and represents the music well. So there's gonna be a lot of that, and we're trying to get creative, and you know, we know we're shooting ourselves in the foot in some ways doing it this way, but we want to still make the most of it. I think.
I don't think it's like shooting yourself in
right.
I think it's more like, you understand what the hurdles you're going to face, and just
100%.
You're going to figure them out. Like, you're going to figure them out.
Exactly.
But you get to put out something the way you want to put it out, and the way you want it consumed.
That's right. Sure. There's some people, they're going to be like, where's the album? And I'm like, it's coming.
It's coming.
but I mean, in due time. But I mean, you know, we're like you said, like we're being very intentional about it, and you know, what it doesn't matter like what it does, you know, like we're not looking at streaming numbers, we're not looking at any of that stuff. Like all we care about is just making something that we're proud of, that resonates with us, and we hope it resonates with other people too. 100%. That's really it.
I'm calling it now. It will.
Well, thanks for. I'm stoked to be able to do stuff like this, because all this helps, and like guys like yourself that are willing to invest the time in bands like us at our level, you know, that are, you know, and still care. Like that means so much, you know. So thanks for
sick. Whatever. I mean, if you guys need help with any of that promotion, pushing stuff, the singles, stuff like that, like let me know. Like I'm 100% like down to help, in whatever way I can. And that's why this thing has gone as long as it has, because like I find bands and I'm like, fuck, more people need to like know about this, or like helping in any which way that I can, because man, there's a lot of talent around that. Just I know how like busy, like, I mean, you're talking about like all this like ways that you're getting around and writing records and writing like music. that extra step to like, oh, okay, now we have to figure out how to like promote this. Like, this one little thing that I can do to help out, then I'll fucking do it. And especially for y'all, like, I'm actually like, again, that's one, like, I support everybody, but like, I am like, there's some bands that I'm just like fans of, and your band is definitely one of the ones that I'm like
appreciate that,
super
man.
like stoked on.
Yeah.
And again, that's like one song. I'm super excited. But yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. Anything else you guys want to say?
No, I don't really have much else. Do you?
No, dude, just if you've made it this far in the podcast, dude, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening. Yeah, we appreciate
talk.
You.
And no, we're so stoked about things we have in store that we've worked really hard, and hopefully there's something that you person listening to this will enjoy and take away from it. So
likewise,
appreciate it.
And lastly, the album's called
Almost got me. I was like, hey.
All right. This has been episode 137 with Adorn. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.
All right. Later, dude.